Hey, it's Joanna Hunter here from joannahunter.com. I am coming at you because I am feeling really fired up because I feel at the moment one of the most important conversations that's been happening in a long time in the world at the moment is around the Tinder Swindler. Now, I know that sounds like, what? How can that be one of the most important conversations that's been happening for a while? Because we have so much else going on in the world. However, I wanted to share because this is something that has really sort of divided the internet. There's a lot of victim shaming going on. There's a lot of women getting on their high horses saying things like, that they were intoxicated by the lifestyle, they were attracted in, they kind of like have no one to blame but themselves, things like that. And I feel like this highlights a actual much deeper issue in society, and it is actually a massively deep misogynistic wounding of the divine feminine energy. So I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to kind of break it down as I see this, and I'm open for the challenge of the discussion of this. But first and foremost, so the Tinder Swindler on Netflix is literally saying that, it was a documentary about a man who met women on Tinder and then exploited them and exploited their generosity and their kindness, having them fully believe that they were in a committed relationship. And I think this is the most important thing, that they were either in a committed friendship with him or they were in a committed romantic relationship. And he did this for the sole purpose of actually extorting money from them. So, but then the internet are like, I would never have given money to a man I met on Tinder and things like that. But I feel really what this really is and why women are behaving in this way. Certain women are saying, please recognize this as narcissistic abuse. And I'm one of these women. I will absolutely say this is narcissistic abuse. And unless you have ever been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse or trained in narcissistic abuse, I can tell you actually don't have a right to comment on this, because here's the thing. Narcissistic abuse is such an insidious type of abuse that it has so much gaslighting in it and so much, it's forming, it uses psychological things like the forming of a trauma bond to bond people together. And the narcissist is using all of this to actually prey on usually what tends to be is a very empathic person, somebody who feels deeply, who really is feeling everything deeply. And they're using that, so they're playing the feelings. Now, what produces feelings in our bodies? Well, they're actually hormonal responses to outside stimulus. So if you're doing something, for instance, if you're eating a meal and it's really enjoyable, your brain creates a cocktail of chemicals that give you that sensation in your body of, this is a lovely meal, this feels really good. Well, what makes narcissistic abuse so insidious is a narcissist, and a very skilled narcissist like this man, what he does is he actually is using that woman's body to create chemical responses that actually start to turn that woman's body into her drug dealer, and is dealing these hormonal responses, because we can actually get addicted to the chemicals within our own body. That's why we have adrenaline junkies. An adrenaline junkie is somebody who has become addicted to their own adrenaline in their body. So a skilled narcissist is using all of this in their arsenal to actually create an illicit responses and are able to manipulate that person. Now, these women, what they had in common was that these are very sensitive women. They were highly sensitive women. And I really felt, as I watched that Tinder Swindler, I felt like these crimes were not just done to these women. These crimes were done to all women, in effect, because he literally took everything that makes women freaking fabulous, our generosity, our fierceness to protect those that we love, our our ability to move mountains, our determination, our love, all of the things that I think make women amazing. He took everything of it and he shat on it. And I'm mad, I'm pissed, because he's never been brought to justice for these crimes either. And it really, really annoys me, because narcissistic abuse is something that carries tremendous amounts of pain, shame, and guilt for the victims of that type of abuse. And to be met by then other women judging these women and saying things like, well, that would never have been me and you were stupid. Trust me, these women are probably running that narrative themselves. And what they actually need from other women is support and love and encouragement at this point in time. Because when the chips were down, what did these women do that were on this Tinder swindler? They thought, how can we stop him from doing this to another person? So they showed us who these women were. These women, even in their most devastating moment where they have lost the love of their life and they have now discovered that they are thousands in debt and they have been conned, the shame, the guilt, everything that goes with that, their empathic natures kicked in again, and they were like, how can we stop him from doing that? And what they did was they actually saved another woman. I mean, that's what we were seeing on that documentary. We've seen them saving another woman. And another woman, you know, obviously horrible because she was deep in already, but they prevented the other woman from actually being completely destroyed by him. But what this also is giving a nod to, the way that some women are reacting to this and saying, well, they did it to themselves and they were intoxicated by the flashy lifestyle and they were insinuating that they were somehow gold diggers. It points to a bigger wounding within the collective feminine, and it's a wounding that requires massive, massive healing. And that wounding is coming from the witch wound. Now, during the witch trials, what happened was that women were encouraged, and also sometimes the lives of their babies were threatened, that if they didn't tell on other women, then their children would be killed, right? So what you're going to do? Are you going to throw another woman to the fire in order to save your child? It's not really, it's an incredibly abusive choice, right? And this is what happened to women during the witch trials. So women began to turn on each other, and this is a misogynistic wounding. Masculine energy created this, because most of the people that were doing the witch trials were men. And what we have done as a society is that as women, I don't think society ever recovered from that. The feminine part of society never recovered from that. And that bred a massive mistrust amongst women. And a lot of issues that we see, women's issues and things that we see, is down to this wounding that we have had all the way back to when it was, all the way back to when it was the witch trials, all the way back to then. And we're still seeing this wounding playing out, where women cannot rely on each other, where women cannot lean on each other, and where women cannot stand up for each other no matter what. Instead, what we do is, well, you were such a dumbass, you obviously were asking for that. And this is what has allowed rape culture to be perpetuated, the trafficking of women to be perpetuated, and for somebody like the Tinder swindler to be on Tinder and keep operating, but to also evade the law. The reason why we've got 3 separate governments that are liable here, 3 separate governments. We have the Swedish government, the Norwegian government, and I believe the German government, who are yet to actually go and apprehend this man for the massive con that he pulled on their citizens. And what perpetuates that to be not an important crime that requires their urgent attention, what perpetuates that is the fact that women are willing to turn on each other. is the fact that women are willing to rip at each other and tear at each other. That's why we have now got a man who is still flying around in private jets, who's still flying around. He's got a girlfriend on his arm, which I hope she's seriously rethinking her life choices. And then on top of that, he's now set himself up in a new business and is now apparently in talks to tell his side of the story. Listen, mate, there's no side of the story to tell. You lied. You said you were the son of a diamond billionaire and you were not, and you extorted money from women. What side of the story is there to tell? And this is but this is our own fault within this. Women's own fault within this is the fact that we cannot present a united front. And because we can't, as women, present a united front, when women have been hurt by men in this way, men will continue to be able to do this. And these devastating cultures like trafficking and rape culture, and even, being conned in this way, or narcissistic abuse, these things will continue to be prevalent in our society until we can start to come together as one and say, no, you do not get to treat women like that. Yep, and that's not to negate the women who are involved, their personal responsibility. Yes, they had personal responsibility, but I think that they clearly demonstrated massive amounts of personal responsibility. First of all, they're still paying off the debts. That's personal responsibility in my book. Second of all, when after the initial shock, hurt, betrayal, the cacophony of emotions that these women must have gone through, the next thought was to tap into that empathic nature of them, and how do we stop him from doing this further? And they were willing to compromise themselves. They were willing to put themselves in the public eye and to have all of the details of their relationship literally made public. I mean, the bravery and the courage of that alone is mind-blowing. And then for other women to think that that's a meme to be laughed at, or to take the absolute piss out of that. When you do that, you're not just shitting on these women, you're shitting on all women, and you're shitting on yourself, literally. Because that is why men are able to continue to get away with horrific crimes against women. And I say that we need to come together. And so my prayer for all of us is that we are willing to have these difficult conversations, and that we're willing to have these conversations and step up and start healing as women. Start coming together and healing this. Because otherwise we're going to continue to live in a society where our daughters and our daughters' daughters are always going to be living with the threat of violence against women. And you might argue, well, he didn't hit them, but he did. He perpetrated a mental form of violence against these women. And any woman that stands there and says, well, they were intoxicated with his flashy lifestyle, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. As women, we have got to come together and be part of the solution for this world. That is my prayer. And that is what I have to say about this. And I hope that it resonates with you. And I really, really send so much love and compassion to the victims of this man. And I truly, truly, if any police is listening to this, I really, truly hope that you will take action against this man, because what he has done is the tip of the iceberg. The newspaper that was investigating, reckoned that he had swindled around $10 million. It is shocking, the level of crime that this man has committed against women, and I believe all women. because he preyed on what makes women amazing. And if you think that the story was just a titillation on Netflix, it is a reflection of our society that we live in. And the comments on this story are a reflection of the deep wounding in our society that needs healing.